Take the roll.
Calling the roll, Mr. Schrein,
Here.
Mr. Tuma,
Here.
Ms. Stevens. Present. Ms. Baker. Ms. Baker is absent at the moment. Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Has there been anyone sign in for public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Okay. We have minutes from the March 4th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? The chair will move that we accept. Is there a second that we can discuss? If there's any,
Second that.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion in regards to the minutes? Please take all the time you need.
I wasn't here, so can I vote on these?
You can vote on them, or you can pass. Either way, you're allowed to read them, because theoretically, you could watch these pearls of wisdom over the internet, so we cannot assume you have not already seen and heard everything that's taking place. So,
I didn't watch it over the internet, but I did review these online
well,
when they were sent out on Friday.
you're certainly welcome to, but now that we have a quorum, if you are uncomfortable voting, the two of us can still vote, and it's up to you. Is there any objections to anything in the minutes? Hearing none, all of them in favor of approval of the minutes of the March 4th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And no abstentions, all right. So we'll go on. We have one matter before the committee. Could it please be read into the record?
Resolution number 2019-0083, authorizing the issuance and sale of county economic development revenue bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $39,500,000. County of Cuyahoga, Ohio Economic Development Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2003, the Cleveland Orchestra Project.
Okay, if you can hold just a half a second, Shirley, if you just let the record reflect it.
Let the
Ms.
record
Simon's here?
reflect that Ms. Simon is in attendance.
Okay, now we can go ahead and read or tell us your pearls of wisdom on this.
Good afternoon, Sarah Parks Jackson with the Department of Development. We're requesting authorization and issuance and sale of economic development revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $39,500 for the Cleveland Orchestra Project, which will provide renovation and refurbishing of Severance Hall. These bonds were originally issued in 1998. We did a refunding in 2003 and again in 2008. Today, we are including the refinancing of the original debt and new financing in an amount not to exceed $11,350,000. The fees payable to the county are estimated to be at $18,500, $1,000 of which we've already received in a non-refundable application fee. And I have with me today Rich Helm from Thompson Hine, who is bond counsel, and Mr. James Menger from the Cleveland Orchestra, who will expound more on the project.
Okay, are there any questions for economic development as far as the structure of our side of the aisle before we get into the actual bond?
Just a point of
Sure.
clarification. So the original borrowing was $39,500,000.
The original borrowing was $28,150.
Okay, and so now.
Excuse me, Ms. Stevens, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Oh, sorry. Forget about that little simple thing sometimes. And so then the debt has been paid down. The original 28 million.
The debt was paid down in 2003 through a refinancing. So it was refunded. Debt was paid off in 2003. Additional debt was incurred in 2003. And then it was refinanced again in 2008. So they've been paying down, but
pulling back out.
Yes.
And so what we're lending today is 28 million again, or facilitating since it's a bond.
We're facilitating the refinancing of the 28 million and
And an
new
additional-
issuance of up to 11,150,000.
Which is how we get to the 39.
That's correct.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions as far as the county's piece of the structure before we get bond counsel? Hearing none, it'd be great to hear bond counsel and then from the orchestra or vice versa, whichever way you want to proceed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Rich Helm. I'm with Thompson Hine. As Sarah explained very well, and I should introduce Jim behind me. Jim is the CFO for the orchestra. This all relates really to Severance Hall, historical Severance Hall. What we're looking for from the committee is a recommendation to the county to issue new bonds in an amount not to exceed $39.5 million, really to do two things. The first, as Sarah explained, is to refund in full the current amount of the outstanding bonds, the Series 2003 outstanding bonds. Now, the original debt financing goes all the way back to 1998. So in 1998, the county issued bonds that financed a major addition to Severance Hall and some other improvements. Those bonds were fully refunded with the 2003 bonds. Now, the 2003 bonds and nothing else in terms of bond proceeds or new money projects were involved in 2003. The 2003 bonds, though, were issued in what's called an auction rate mode, which is this process for resetting interest periodically. For reasons that a financial analyst could explain better than I, the appetite for these auction rate mode securities cratered in about 2007, 2008. So the bonds are right now bearing interest in a index-based mode that really moves with short-term rates. And as short-term interest rates have continued to go up, it's been to the detriment of the orchestra. So what they're doing now with the predominant piece of the new bonds we're looking to issue is fixing their interest rate with a long-term fixed rate bond issue. The other thing they're doing, though, is a portion of new money projects to modernize the hall, renovations, refurbishing, HVAC, roofing, windows, that sort of thing, really to bring the hall current and to make the experience for those who attend a performance a little more enjoyable. So that's what's facing us. It's a combined refunding issue and new money piece. Just as a reminder, the bonds that are being issued are conduit bonds. They are an obligation of the orchestra. Orchestra revenues are pledged to those bonds. They are not a county obligation. The county is not pledging any monies, not using a taxing power or anything like that. It's purely a conduit issuer here, and the ultimate obligor is the orchestra. If there are any questions for me, otherwise I'll turn it over to Jim.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead for questions for bond counsel.
Yes. So if I understand the language in the resolution, there is a ceiling on what this rate can go up to for you?
Yeah, there is a max rate contemplated.
So something like 6.5% is the ceiling
Right.
for you guys?
Or
For your client?
Right, there's a max, and offhand, I don't remember, I should pull the bond resolution, but there's a max rate contemplated in the bond resolution where when we price the bonds here in a few weeks, they'll fall under that. And we're very confident, the financial advisors are very
I'm
confident.
looking at something for my other life, and
sure.
our bonds are for housing, so they're lower, but they're looking at 4.5%. So
Yeah.
you should do well.
We hope so,
But you're contemplating that that's the ceiling rate to which, if you go above that, the bonds probably are going to get pulled. But if you're not anticipating a rate anywhere close to that, I would think. Are you?
No, and that's really and Jim might have a comment on that, but that's really the financial advisor involved with that who has a better feel for what the market's looking like in terms of interest rate. But correct, the resolution contemplates a max rate. It also has a maximum size, just to kind of give the parameters of what's facing the county when it approves the bonds. The other thing I did want to mention is that we're hopeful that this can be done on an emergency basis just to fit within our financing timetable when we want to price the bonds and when we're hoping to close.
Okay, well, by definition of emergency, we define it as second reading suspension is as fast as we can get things done in a week from last meeting? Yeah, 2 weeks from a week from next meeting will be next Tuesday, so that'll be as fast as
So
we're
the
gonna.
first reading would be next Tuesday, which
No,
is
we've already had the first, so this is the reading, I assume the request is gonna be for, at some point, second reading suspension, so that would be as fast as this body can get it out.
Correct, and that's perfectly fine.
Administratively, we have nothing.
Sure.
This body has nothing to do with that. We'll turn that back over to the executive side to make sure the documents are cranked up. Other questions for bond counsel in regards to this? Do you anticipate that this will actually ever get paid off, or is it one that it get perpetually rolled up into the next round of whatever the interest rates happen to be?
I mean, can't really say. I mean, if rates, if it's advantageous in the future, I mean, there'll be a call period when they can be refunded. which is pretty standard. So it is, to your point, it's a little unusual to see bonds carried to maturity these days.
Right.
But you never know.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Simon?
This is usually your question, Mr. Chair. Maybe I missed it. The county's doing this because we're the conduit and we have the ability to generate this process. Is there any fee or compensation?
I apologize. You had just,
Is it
surely,
from
yeah,
Sarah? How much is
$18,000.
coming? How much?
18.
Okay.
We're gonna make it $18,000. At least that's what I thought I heard, which is a nice, that's a nice amount of funds for doing the paperwork behind this. And we're no guarantee, there's no guarantee. Is that,
Yeah, we're not on the hook, I heard, as a guarantor, right?
is
No obligation.
that the correct amount that I thought I heard?
That is the correct amount, and will be based on the new issuance, so it could fluctuate, but it's not gonna fluctuate that much. It might be 14, it might be 16, but based on the 11,150,000.
Right.
The fee for that is 17.
Right, and Ms. Simon's correct. This is usually my question. That's when I heard that, I was a happy dancing up here that we're going to get $18,000. But I assume that you're going from a variable rate to this fixed rate, and now we'll hear it from the orchestra. I assume that it's going to be a win for everybody at the table.
Exactly. I think Rich went over things well. The only things I would add, just for context,
I'm sorry, if you could put your name on the record so they can, for recording purposes.
James Menger, Chief Financial Officer with the Cleveland Orchestra.
Okay, I apologize for
That's
having.
okay. So as Rich mentioned, these are variable rate auction bonds. The interest gets reset weekly. Since that market dried up in 07 or 08, we enjoyed many years of an interest rate below 1%.
Right.
But in recent months, it's tied to LIBOR, a multiple of LIBOR, and our interest rate is now north of 6.5%. It's our understanding from our financial advisors and also discussions with Standard & Poor's that based on the market today, we can fix it around between 3.5 and 4%. So based on that difference, every week that goes by is costing us another $15,000 in interest expense on the existing 28.
So we didn't charge you enough at 18,000 is what you're telling us. Oh, in 1 week you'll have already, week and a half,
really
you'll have already
recovering
recovered the entire fee.
So,
Okay.
and even though rates are going up, these are still incredibly attractive rates over the long term. And so to be able to mitigate the risk on the original 28 million and then to be able to fund some new money infrastructure projects. And we do, I'm involved in forward financial plans, and we do build in the need to pay these bonds off.
Oh, really? Okay.
The credit markets during the initial issuance, credit markets were very loose is probably not the right word back then, but we were able to get a bullet maturity. We've just paid interest along the way. It's our understanding this time that we will not be able to go all the way to maturity and pay the principal at the end. And so maybe after 10 years or so, we'll need to start amortizing principal.
Okay. It might take you a full 2 weeks to take care of Jim over there too, I assume. Or me, Rich, on that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just as an aside, since we are the conduit for this deal, if you could, the Severance Hall will remain open while the construction is going on. Is that the intention?
Absolutely, yes.
And then what do you anticipate as an end date for construction?
I would approximate 18 to 24 months max.
Okay.
Gosh, it just seemed like the other day you were touting that as being the renovation of all renovations and didn't need to be doing anything for a long time, and here we are back renovating again.
20 years. I mean,
Yeah,
this is,
I also have some 20-year-old kids who had their 42nd birthday the other day too, so it goes by quick.
I was around back then, and it was a matter of how much we thought we could finance and raise, and not everything on the list get done. But
Sure, of course. Well, it's a fantastic facility. I see that, effective today, you're putting your lawn seat package went on sale or something like that. I think I saw. We all got pinged with that email today, so.
good.
Other questions?
Just a little more depth in what gets improved this time, because there were things that didn't get done the first time at the level, I think the way it was phrased, it was, we couldn't do it at quite the level we wanted to. What are those additional things this time?
I guess to clarify, one is we couldn't afford to do everything, and two, not everything needed to be done. So the main components of the new project is one, the roof. So 20 years has gone by, and there's issues with that. Two is a new HVAC system throughout the building, including in the performance hall. And then also the windows are original, and besides chipping and peeling away, they're not very energy efficient, so we expect to realize additional ongoing savings from that.
Are you on the historic register?
We are not.
Okay, so you won't have those requirements on how your windows are replaced.
We've considered it, the benefits and challenges from time to time, and have decided not to go that route at least yet.
Okay.
Well, a roof is only, most roofs are only good for 20 to 25 years, no matter what roof you have. So you're going to always be faced with that. And you might as well address it this way with these. I don't know that we're going to get this low of interest rate again for a long time. So you might as well jump on it. Other questions, comments? Okay. I have not heard that request, but I assume that the executive's office is going to put a request on there for second reading suspension. Is that
That is the request, Mr.
is
Chair.
that correct? Okay. All right. All right. So
Point of clarification?
yes, ma'am.
What is the date you need it by, so that goes on the record?
We'd love the 9th, if that can be done.
Well, we can put it on. We can do. I think there was a secondary message being said there, so it was not necessarily what we can do. We'll get it. We'll get it for second reading suspension. It'll be on the next agenda, and then the ball will be handed back over to the other side of the court to get the paperwork done.
So I'm asking you, if you need to close on your financing, what is the date, the projected date of closing for your financing?
Well, it's largely a driver.
Excuse me, sir, can you
You have
speak
to.
into the
Yeah, sorry.
microphone?
It's got to be recorded. Sorry.
Sorry, no problem at all. The closing's a little in flux. I think pricing is one of the big components, and we'd love to price in the next few weeks. Things can always move a little bit. We're still working diligently. We had planned our timetable around the 9th, optimistically hoping that we could do this.
So that means that you'd like to close this like between the 20th and the 30th of this month?
We're pushing for that.
Okay, that's the point that I was trying to get on the record.
But you're gonna sell these commercially, aren't they? Or do you think somebody's gonna buy all the $11 million of the bonds and everything like that? Do you have buyers already lined up for this?
Well, it's a public offering, so we don't have the underwriters. Will be marketing it once we have the materials ready to go and things are set here and putting in calls, but it will be a public offering.
But do you then, is your is the assistant who is providing you that guidance think that it's going to go pretty quickly? I assume that Cleveland Orchestra bonds would be pretty darn good.
Yes, I think they're very confident that there'll be an appetite for the full amount we're looking for.
Yeah. Now, there's no tax advantage though to buying these bonds, is there, from the buyer's side?
They're tax exempt.
Oh, they are. Okay, fantastic. All right. Very good. Any other questions? Hearing none. Is there anyone moving for a second reading suspension? It's been moved. It's been seconded. Any discussion in regards to it? Hearing no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We've done our part. It's now, it'll be handed off to, well, no, we still have to take it, this committee will then take it to a vote at the next full council meeting. And I can only assume that the council president will put it on the agenda. Once it is now come out of the committee, so I'll assume it'll be on the agenda, and in theory, it'll be passed to the next meeting. So with that, there's nothing else. Is there any miscellaneous matters to be brought before?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Call the meeting adjourned. Yep, good luck.